wrapped up in Dubai, and health was a big focus at this year's UN Climate Conference. Some advocates were there to raise awareness about the impacts climate change can have on the human body. Lucas Allen is a grade 10 student at Upper Canada College. He just returned from the conference where he spoke about the link between Alzheimer's and climate change. And Lucas joins me in the studio now. Hi, Lucas.
Hi, how are you?
I am great. How are you? I'm going to say, are you jet lagged? Because you just got back.
I am a bit jet lagged, yes.
Yeah. Well, listen, congratulations. Tell me about what it was like being there at the conference.
Yeah, it was really great. I mean, it was a big conference. I got to meet a ton of people from around the world, and it was really exciting.
Were there any young people there like yourself?
Well, there actually weren't that many young people. There were a few, but it was majority of adults, yeah.
Wow, good for you. So tell us, why did you want to attend this year?
Well, I really wanted to attend because I think climate change is just such an important issue that we really need to take action on before it gets too late and before some of the really bad effects start to take place.
Yeah, and you spoke about this link between Alzheimer's and climate change. How did that become an area of interest for you?
Well, my grandfather actually has Alzheimer's, so he's 84 years old. He's had Alzheimer's for over a decade, and he's in the really late stages. And so that's really been a passion of mine. And when I found the link between climate change and Alzheimer's, I thought that was such an interesting thing. And I was also interested in climate change, and that's kind of how I got to COP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's been quite a bit of research on this and at Canadian universities as well. Can you talk about that, about the relationship between Alzheimer's and climate change?
Yeah, so one of the main things is that climate change, air pollution, actually leads to higher rates of Alzheimer's disease. And so obviously that's caused by climate change. And so it's a really unexpected link that most people wouldn't think of, where climate change actually affects Alzheimer's disease.
Do you find that? When you speak about that, do you find that a lot of people are not aware of that link?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everyone I talked to at COP, none of them really expected that climate change would have an effect on Alzheimer's disease.
So then when you were talking, how did you try to convey the importance of this research and that people need to pay attention to it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of talked about how there are like so many Alzheimer's patients. There's 55 million of them. And a lot of times they're underrepresented because they have kind of they can't really cognitively represent themselves. And so nobody really gives them a voice. And so we kind of have to speak for them to talk about this issue.
So what do you think, in order to, I guess, get more exposure, awareness of this issue, what kind of resources are needed to help address this problem?
Yeah, well, I think there are a few things. Firstly, we kind of have to recognize that this is a really big issue. There are 55 million Alzheimer's patients. If climate change continues to get worse in the future, this number might grow, and more public health might get worse as there's more climate change. And also we need to kind of invest in this a little bit, and we have to make people aware, because pretty much everyone I talked to had no clue that this could even be a thing.
Mm-hmm. And what about future climate negotiations? You know, I mean, this one they did talk about health. What would you like to see?
Well, I would like them to talk a little bit more about health. I mean, there was one day at COP dedicated to health, but I think they need to talk a little bit more about health, and also potentially giving the youth a little bit of a voice, because if climate change continues to get worse, and there are more health challenges that come from that, it's going to be the youth who are facing all those problems in the future.
Right, but you were saying there were hardly any young people there. Were you the youngest?
I was one of the youngest, yes.
Yeah. What did that feel like? Among mostly older people, you know, speaking to them.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good to speak to older people.
Wasn't it a bit nerve-wracking?
A little bit, yes. But I do believe that it would be a lot better to have more young people to kind of have a little bit more of a voice at COP.
Yeah, and when you're here in Toronto, how do you spread the message about this?
Well, I mean, I think to spread the message, it's really important to kind of give speeches, for example, like this interview, to kind of talk about these issues with people, to kind of spread awareness. And, you know, the first thing is even just recognizing that it's a thing.
Yeah. And what about young people, you know, as far as people you know, your friends, classmates? I don't know, how much interest is there? I mean, I know there's great interest in climate change, but what about this particular issue of Alzheimer's and climate change? Is there any interest, and do they even know about it?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people don't really know about it. And I think there is some interest. But I think really it's just a difficult thing to kind of get people interested in. And I think especially because Alzheimer's patients, you know, they can't really represent themselves.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think it is something that, like, when you get the word out, people start to understand, because tons of people have like family, brothers or sisters or grandparents who all have like Alzheimer's disease. And so they kind of know what it is and know how serious it is.
So what's next for you?
Well, I think that I hope to kind of expand, to spread this message a little bit more, and potentially at COP kind of get more of a youth voice in this.
Oh, you're going to go back?
Yeah,
you think you might go back to another conference?
Hopefully. And I think definitely getting more of like a youth voice, kind of giving youth a little bit more of a voice on this issue, and also recognizing that the climate challenge is also becoming a public health challenge as well.
Well, your parents must be very proud of you, Lucas. Congratulations.
Yeah.
That's Lucas Allen. He's a grade 10 student at Upper Canada College, and he just returned from COP28 in Dubai, where he was presenting research on the link between Alzheimer's and climate change.